The Living Zen-podcast is a gift from the members and associates of the Victoria Zen Centre to you. If you enjoy it, please be sure to let your friends know about Living Zen. If you'd like to support our community, here are a few ways that you can do it. Download the Living Zen podcast app for iPod, iPhone, or Android. You can also purchase additional Zen Talks by Venerable Eshu on iTunes or Amazon.com. One of the most meaningful ways to show your support is by joining our Sangha as an associate. Your commitment of $10 a month will ensure that offerings like the Living Zen podcast and our online e-Zendo will continue to be available around the world to everyone with an interest in truly living Zen. To become an associate, please visit our website at www.zenwest.ca and click on the membership tab. Thank you for your support. So tonight I wanted to do something a little bit different. Yesterday, as I hope everybody here knows, in Boston there was an attack of some sort. Several people were killed and injured. And of course, this kind of thing happens and gives us all more questions. The one that came up for me is, why do we keep doing this to each other? One of the real values, benefits of having a place of community isn't that we go for answers. It's not in this tradition. But it's a place that we can go and share together this space of questioning. So what I wanted to do this evening was something that is traditionally done in Buddhism and in Zen, which is to make an incense and chanting offering. So if you just reach underneath your cushions here, there's a small card called the Dharani of Removing Disaster. Now oftentimes when something like this happens, and we or I as the abbot choose to do something like this, make a response, it's not because, things that happen in Boston or in Canada or in North America are more important than the tragedies that happen all around the world all the time. But when they happen closer to home, it serves us a reminder, an opportunity to remember, an opportunity to turn our energies towards being of benefit. This kind of chanting that we're about to do, this is called Dharani. And the word Dharani can be translated as vessel or vehicle, container. So when we look at this, you see a bunch of syllables that you don't really understand, and they don't have a translatable meaning. One of the other, I have a thing for wizards, One of the other translations of Dharani is spell. And the function of the Dharani, this vessel or container, is that it's to acknowledge the difference in the words that we speak, the sounds that we make, the difference between sort of conceptual, intellectual meaning and intention. And the value of a Dharani is to be free from meaning, but to be a vessel for intention. So it kind of states clearly, Dharani of removing disaster, what our intention is. So these reminders that we receive through the tragedy and suffering of this world. Way too many reminders for my liking. Offer us an opportunity, when we hear about them, we have this tendency to want to rationalize them. We have this tendency to want to minimize them or compare them or contrast them. Which is the greater tragedy? Which should we be really expending our energy on? Which isn't such a big deal? These are all just coping mechanisms. Ways for us as human beings to try to block out or avoid the suffering that is inherent in being a human being, in being existent in this cosmos. One of the values of coming together as a community, especially in this format of just sitting quietly together, is it gives us an opportunity to stop running, to stop closing off, to stop trying to figure out the answers to everything. It offers us the opportunity to just sit and open ourselves to this universal experience of being that we share with all things in this vast cosmos. The word compassion is one that gets tossed around a lot, especially these days, it seems to me, this compassion. If we look at this word compassion, it literally means to suffer with. And from the perspective of Buddhism, it is to recognize that the suffering of another is our suffering. We are not separate. So when we come together to practice compassion, to give rise to this intention of compassion, we have to open ourselves. We have to open ourselves to the suffering that is happening all the time, all around the world, in our own lives, in the lives of those around us, in the lives of people all around the world. And it's with that sense, without adding words into it, without adding thoughts into it, without turning it into concepts and descriptions, just that raw outpouring of compassion arising from our bellies, from our hearts. That's where we chant from, this Dharani of removing disaster. So what I wanted to do this evening is to chant the Dharani of removing disaster. So we'll repeat this a number of times, and the other thing that we do is offer incense. So I'm going to show you how to do that. As we are chanting, I'm actually going to ask before we chant that the Densu in the Shoden will be able to go up and offer incense, because you won't be able to do it while we're chanting. While we're chanting, each and every person that's here can stand up and go offer incense at the Butsudan. And let me just show you how that's done, so feel free to sort of turn and look. So you're sitting at your seat and we're all chanting. You bow. You bow at your seat. You just walk up to the Butsudan. You bow. You come around the bowing mat. There's a little cup here with little half sticks of incense. You just light it on the candle. Place it in the incense bowl and bow. The bodhisattva we have on the Butsudan is Avalokiteshvara, the bodhisattva of compassion. Bow. Come back around. and bow. And then just return to your seat. I'll do that too. Bow, and then sit down. And then just find our place in the chant and continue chanting. Okay? So we'll continue to repeat it. I'll sort of give you a wave when everybody's kind of done. Okay? There's no order to this. We don't need to start anywhere. As you feel, and you certainly don't have to offer incense if you don't want to. It's sort of entirely as the Spirit moves you. So if you want to, Dentsu. Thanks for listening to the Living Zen podcast. If you follow Living Zen through iTunes, I would very much appreciate it if you would take a moment to let me know what you think about it by rating or reviewing the podcast, so that new listeners can also hear what you have to say. Thank you for your time and for your support.